Hey there, internet friends. We're about to explore some of the weirdest spots on the web. So grab some snacks and come along for the ride. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Let's jump right in. I never imagined a simple flu would change my life forever. That day, I left work early, feeling drained and just wanting to crawl into bed. But what awaited me at home was far worse than any illness. As I approached our house, I noticed an unfamiliar truck parked out front. Muffled sounds coming from our bedroom sent a chill down my spine. The feeling in my gut wasn't just from being sick. When I peeked through the slightly open bedroom door, I saw my wife's betrayal unfold before my eyes. In that moment, everything shattered. It wasn't just the end of my marriage, it was the beginning of an entirely new life, born from the ashes of infidelity. Before I dive into my story, if you want to avoid having your life turned upside down like mine, subscribe to my channel. Here we share real lessons from real stories, just like mine, every day. Also, please share your thoughts about my shocking experience in the comments and show your support by liking this video. Now that you've subscribed, let's get into my story. That Thursday morning, the flu hit me hard. By noon, my boss had sent me home to avoid spreading it to the whole office. All I could think about was my wife, Beth. I imagined she'd take care of me, make some chicken soup, and nurse me back to health. But as I pulled up to the house, I saw that unfamiliar truck parked in front. In my feverish state, I didn't give it much thought. I parked on the street and went inside, expecting Beth's comforting presence. The house was eerily quiet. The silence unsettled me. I called out for Beth, but there was no answer. As I made my way toward our bedroom, the sounds of two people intertwined started to emerge. My heart began to race. A voice inside me screamed to stop, warning that once I saw what was happening, my life would never be the same. But I couldn't stop. With each step, my suspicion grew. I reached the door, and peering through the slightly open gap, I saw my wife, Beth, in bed with another man. At that moment, everything became painfully clear. The horror of that scene burned into my mind as I watched them through the door, emotions swirling inside me like a tornado. As I saw Beth give herself to that man, I realized that my old life had been nothing more than an illusion. "Oh God, give it to me!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the room. Something inside me broke. How could I have been so blind? How had I not seen this coming? As Beth's body tensed and writhed amidst the man's incoherent grunts, I wanted to burst into the room. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, but my legs felt rooted to the ground. Why wasn't I doing something? Why was I just standing there watching them? But then a strange coldness settled into my mind. What I was feeling wasn't just betrayal. It was the dawning of a newfound freedom within me. I opened the door a little wider and snapped a few clear photos with my phone. Beth's lust-filled face, the way the man held her. I captured it all. "You'll never forget this," I said to myself as I pocketed the phone. I wanted to storm into the room and demand answers, but I couldn't. Instead, without saying a word, I quietly turned and left the house. As I passed through the garage, I grabbed a screwdriver and plunged it into the tires of the man's truck. Maybe it was childish, but in that moment, it was the only thing I could do. I got into my car and drove away. On the road, tears started rolling down my cheeks uncontrollably. My life had changed, and I didn't know where I was heading. I drove for hours, unable to shake the images from my mind. Beth and that man wouldn't leave my thoughts. How long had this been going on? Who was he? None of these questions mattered anymore. What mattered was that 24 years of marriage had shattered in an instant. I stopped by a clinic to pick up some medicine for the flu, then checked into a motel on the other side of town. I couldn't go back to that house, at least not that night. The first night in that motel felt like a nightmare. The weight of both the illness and the betrayal crushed me. Beth called me numerous times, but I didn't answer a single call. What could she say? Apologizing wouldn't fix anything. Nothing could fix this. The next morning, I called work to let them know I wouldn't be in for a few days. I needed time to think and make a decision. This marriage couldn't go on, but simply leaving Beth wasn't enough. I needed a plan. That day, I called a lawyer, withdrew my money from the bank, and took the first steps to sever my life from Beth's. I wasn't just ending my marriage. I was taking control of my life. When I returned home, I found Beth in the kitchen. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale. "Peter, we need to talk. Please give me a chance," she said, her voice trembling. I looked at her, my voice as cold as ice. "You have nothing left to give me, Beth. It's all over. I saw you. I saw you in that man's arms, and in that moment I realized we would never be the same again." Beth began to cry. "But I love you. He meant nothing. It was just a mistake," she pleaded. "A mistake," I said, barely able to contain my anger. "The moment you let that man into our bedroom, you destroyed any love you had for me. This isn't just a mistake. This is the end of our life together." Beth, sobbing uncontrollably, approached me, reaching out her hands. "Please don't leave. We can start over. I love you. I don't know what happened in that moment. I was just looking for some excitement. I still need you," she said. I gently pushed her hands away and looked at her one last time. "I don't need you, Beth. Not anymore. There will be someone in my life who will never betray me." I looked at the woman I once loved more than anything, and I felt nothing. "I'm packing my things," I said in a cold voice. "Packing? Why, can't we talk? I'm sorry, Peter. I made a mistake. Please, we can fix this," she cried, tears streaming down her face. I shook my head, my voice calm but firm. "Beth, there's nothing to fix. The moment you brought that man into our home, you made a choice. Now I'm making mine." Beth collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "It was just sex, Peter. It meant nothing. I love you. I don't want him. I want you," she screamed. I looked at her silently. Her words felt empty. "Love? You call this love? You cheated on me, Beth. You betrayed us. You betrayed me. It's clear you don't want me." Beth fell onto the bed, her sobs echoing through the room. I looked at her, feeling a mix of pity, disgust, and emptiness. The woman I once loved now meant nothing to me. In that moment, I realized that love was gone. It was time to move on. The following weeks were spent reshaping my life. I moved into a small motel, started divorce proceedings with my lawyer, and quit my job. For the first time in years, I had no responsibilities, no job, no marriage, no home. I was free and could go wherever I wanted, and that's exactly what I did. The biggest surprise of my life came when I met a woman named Moran McDermott. Tall, with fiery red hair and eyes that carried both pain and joy. I met her through mutual friends. From the moment we met, we felt an instant connection. Like me, she had experienced the pain of betrayal, but together we found the peace we were both searching for. The time I spent with Moran gave me the strength to love again. With each passing day, I grew closer to her, and eventually I realized that this was no coincidence. We both deserved a second chance. Beth's betrayal wasn't an end for me. In fact, it gave me a new life. It set me free, giving me the courage to leave behind the life I'd been trapped in for years. And for that, in a strange way, I'm grateful to her. Standing on the mountaintop, looking out at the view of my new life, with Moran standing beside me, I realized that sometimes life takes us to the right places at the end of the worst moments. Life can sometimes bring the biggest changes at the most unexpected times. What was once a betrayal that tore my world apart has now given me a new beginning, a new love, a new life, and a freedom I never knew I had. And it was all thanks to a broken heart that brought me back to myself. This story has been a whirlwind of emotions. from the shock of betrayal to the journey toward healing. Beth's affair and the fallout reveal the deep impact of broken trust and the tough choices that follow. How do you think the situation was handled? What would you have done differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this reflection and want more content like this, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for joining us, and see you in the next video.